My name is Marnie Russ, and I am the National Kitten College Program Administrator at the Animal Welfare League of Arlington. Has anybody ever heard what Kitten College is, or is this a totally new concept to a lot of people? Okay, well, yes, Darla has. So we will, I'm going to go over a lot of that, and if you have questions along the way, you can either stop and I'll ask, or we'll do a whole bunch at the end. So the program that we're talking about today is a little different than what I do when I normally go around. Today we're talking about resources. So our program is set up in a really unique way that it maximizes resources. So in resources today, we're talking about time, we're talking about money, and we're talking about the impact on staff. Obviously, we all work in shelters and rescues where all of those things are very limited. So our program basically addresses those. But who we are the Animal Welfare League of Arlington. We are based in Arlington, Virginia, right next to the Pentagon. So we have a very transient community. We have a lot of folks that come and go through the administrations. And so it's a very well-educated, affluent, financially stable community. So we're really lucky that our resource is we're so high functioning. We are an open admission shelter. We have the county contract. So we have animal control based in our buildings. It is a public-private partnership, and the majority of our funding does come from outside sources. Last year, we did a total intake of over 3,000, the majority of which were transfers. So most of our animals don't really organically generate in Arlington, but because we're so high functioning, we are able to pull from all over. And because our community is so transient, we always have not had a problem finding homes for these animals. So we've been really, really fortunate. We do have a 98% live release rate. So a little bit about our program and how it started. I am also co-founder of the National Kitten Coalition, and the National Kitten Coalition is an online educational tool for people that work with kittens. We aren't based in any shelters. We did get a grant through the Animal Welfare League of Arlington in 2016, and this grant allowed us to go to the 5 major nurseries in the country and sit down with them for just a couple days and find out from everybody, what, all the way from the CEO all the way down to the animal care techs that are there in the dregs taking care of all the animals. So we spent the 2 days with them and really picked their brains. We're like, what did you learn when you were setting up this nursery? What can we put together for people that are going to be hopefully doing it, that you wish you'd done better, wish you hadn't done, what surprised you, what works? And we put together this manual called Launching and Operating a Successful Kitten Nursery. These are the 5 nurseries that we visited. And while I was in these meetings, I just kept thinking, these are amazing. And what these nurseries are doing is amazing. And they're really saving a lot of lives. But most kittens are going to end up in rescues or in small to mid-sized municipal shelters. And if that's the case, how does what we're learning here convey into a small to mid-sized municipal shelter? So ironically, I live across the street from the Animal Welfare League of Arlington. So I went over there, I was a foster for them, and I talked to them about what if we put a kitten program in place? What would it look like? How would we address the issue? We don't have a huge kitten issue in Arlington. We've done TNR for 20 years. We just don't organically get a lot of kittens in, but through my work with the National Kitten Coalition, I knew that kittens all around the DMV were being euthanized at 9:30. At night. So I was like, I knew we could get to those and help those. So they allowed me to put a plan in place. I put a business plan together that is probably the worst business plan ever because I had no idea what it was going to look like. Is it going to be an in-house kitten nursery? Is it going to be a foster-based kitten nursery? I just didn't want to have any hard stops because I wanted the program to lead us where we were going to go. And they did. So we started very slow. This was a basic storage closet. We put in some lockers that were in there, and then they held cages and kennels. Nobody used it. It looks so much bigger than it is because it's so tiny, maybe it'll hold 2 or 3 people. We took that and we put in basically a incubator. We got an oxygen concentrator and kennels. And that was the extent of building our in-house nursery. And when we first started, it was super effective. At the time, we had about 38 fosters. We were doing about 92 kittens a year. We were able to start pulling. Our first steps were really to build our foster program and get them ready to intake kittens from all over. So in July of 2017, we kicked off our first, our kitten nursery. So that was when it was called Kitten Academy at the time, but somebody owned that and told us we needed to stop. So now we're Kitten College. We were Kitten Academy at that time, and this is Phil Vassar. He's a country music singer and allergic to cats, but he came and did our kickoff for us, so we wrapped up the kittens. But that was in July of 2017 that we first started it. And keep in mind, in 2016, before we did this, we did about 92 kittens a year. Last year, we did 1,547. So we were literally addressing a need that I don't think any of us knew existed. We knew that kittens were being euthanized, and we knew that people, that we could help outside of our shelter walls, but we didn't know the impact that we would have. And we're absolutely no different than any of you in this room. Like, Arlington is a wonderful, high-functioning shelter that has a kitten program. And you guys are all shelters or rescues that have kitten programs. You deal with kittens. We're all in this together. We just did a few little things to tweak our program based on the experience of some of our fosters, or how we were going to make it work so that it was easier for people to foster, and it really worked. So that's when we really started kicking off the Kitten College and taking it out into the United States, letting people know what we did, just to see if those things help them. And we did our first one with Estrella in Oregon when we first started. She was one of our first shelters that we went to, doing this, where we go and travel to shelters, teach in your shelter, review your resources, give you anything and everything that we have so you can take what works for you. Demographically, we're all different, but we're all saving kittens. So I assure you there are things that we have that can help you, and I assure you I can learn a lot from you when we're in your shelter. So we went from 15 up to 1547. Our foster base also increased. This is one of our amazing fosters that put this little video together that I'm going to share with you now. How do I play? Okay, here we go. Little feel-good video that we share with all of our fosters. And we also offer it to folks that run our program. If you want to use that video to get fosters inspired to work in your area, anything that we have that you see that AWLA Kitten College does is available to you. The one main thing about our program is to be completely transparent and to give to people and then to learn from people. So as we're on the road and we're going and we're talking to people, our presentations change every week. We get information from people and we add it. It's a collaboration of people that are working together to save kittens. So like I said, everybody that deals in animal welfare has kitten programs. Kittens are an issue across the board. Ours is a little different because the Kitten College concept is a little different. We're going to go over that. And we're going to talk about how the programs sustain itself, the flexibility we give our fosters, and how it's developed to give them flexibility, and how we really try and make a place for everyone. So the main thing that differentiates our program from others that we first started was to give fosters a class. That's where the college idea comes from. So it's not for the kittens, it's for the fosters themselves. So we have fosters who are freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. Senior fosters handle our most delicate kittens. Our tiniest bottle babies that come in will go to our senior fosters. They couldn't have special needs, but our senior fosters have a really good eye, and you can trust them to know if something changes with that kitten, they'll be able to recognize it just as well as any staff in the shelter would be able to. So those are our senior fosters. Our junior fosters, you'll follow this kitten throughout his time with our shelter. His name is Linus. So our juniors will get kittens just till they're about to start wean, or they will be a week before weaning. They're older bottle babies. They may have mild medical conditions, but they definitely know how to bottle feed, and they also definitely have an eye for what's going on with that kitten at that stage. Our sophomores will take kittens that are eating independently. They can do kittens that are weaning. They will have a kitten that has maybe a daily med for metronidazole or doxycycline for URIs or diarrhea. They can handle the oral administration of meds. So those would go to our sophomores. We also send our socializing kittens to sophomores. And then our freshmen. Our foster power in our freshmen is really important. They're usually where they start out. We have during the summer, a lot of kids with parents, and they will take these healthy, eating independently. They just need to gain weight, or maybe they're just waiting to get on the surgery schedule at the shelter, maybe some mild socializations. But these are the ones that would not be comfortable or able to handle if something went wrong. We really want to set them up for success, so we give them the sturdiest of kittens and just hold on to them until they're ready to be adopted or put on the surgery schedule. So our foster power is where this program really thrived. We no longer use that tiny closet that I showed you. That we don't use that at all anymore. We were able to have kittens in it early in the program. We would have kittens in it. Everything is now completely foster based for us. Our foster group blew up. And a lot of that is sort of how we set up our foster program. This is another way in which our shelter saves resources. We have fosters that do everything from putting pictures into Pet Point, doing updates, checking for, following up with their inoculation schedules. They are great foster mentors. So when we bring people on, we line them up with a foster. And we call these fosters that are really essentially extensions of our staff at the shelter. We give them the designation of professors. So they get these special professor jackets, and we recognize them for how much work they do for us. I was at a meeting a while ago in Texas at Operation Kindness, and they had the idea of calling them professors. So this year's jackets are professors. But it's a really great way to get people involved in the program and give them ownership of what you're doing. I mean, they really give so much to what we do and are why we're able to do so much, that it's important that they know how much we appreciate them. We also have a very, very active Facebook page for our fosters, and it is not a shelter page. It is just for the Kitten College fosters. This is a great way for the fosters themselves who may be nervous about getting kittens or may have questions to to ask questions, and we're able to monitor it. So if somebody were to get a new kitten they hadn't fostered and they can't get hold of somebody at the shelter, they can ask that question on the Facebook page, and there are several people within the organization who monitor the information that goes back and forth. But just being able to ask those questions in a place without interrupting staff on their daily work gives a lot more freedom to the fosters. We are able to monitor it, and we have a super active page. I think we have over like 500 people on it, where we don't have that many fosters, but people that have fostered, previously fostered. We have other shelters that are on it. We have people that can answer questions. We do monitor who's on it. Not anyone's just allowed to join it. But it's been a great support for our staff. We also do, we have a lot of foster influencers, which is something that I had not anticipated when we started this, but we have fosters who have very active social media pages, Instagram accounts, TikTok accounts. So we're a commodity that they need. They need our kittens to keep their views up on their social media, and they are amazing. Like the video you just saw is one of them, one of our social media influencers, and she just does such great work with her page. We do have, because we know that these are our kittens, there are some rules that they have to abide by, making sure what they do share information on the cats that is proprietary and isn't. We have a form for social media restrictions that we have all of the fosters sign. That is a form that we offer to anyone else who wants to move forward with it, just as a template. So our fosters are really the heart and soul of our program. So we went from when I started in 2016, we had 38 fosters, and we just really hit the ground running. We have over 300 fosters now. So there's some responsibility with that. We live in the DC metropolitan area, and there are lots of shelters and rescues, so it's safe to assume that what we're doing is taking fosters from other organizations, and we're responsible for that. We are known for bottle babies, so I think the majority of our region sends bottle babies to us. But we have arrangements with the other municipal shelters in our area that if they need a foster and don't have one, they can post on that Kitten College page and get a foster, because the only reason they probably don't have them is we stole them. So if they're comfortable with our training, which they all are, they are Kitten Colleges as well, they can post on there and we can all work together. It's really gone a long way to help our community work together. We're also super lucky in that we have become sort of a regional safe space for kittens. This isn't something that we had mapped out. It wasn't part of any strategic plan. It just happened. We have satellite campuses all around our area. One of them is a rural shelter. Because we can all work together, this rural shelter never did kittens. They do kittens now. They do, I think, about 300 or 400 a year. So to go from 0 to 400 in 3 years, we're super impressed with them. We want to offer them all the help we can get. What they don't have that we have is foot traffic, because they're 40 miles outside of DC. So we either will pull kittens to help them get adopted, we will advertise their kittens on our page. They're also a rural shelter that has access for working cats. So when we get ones that we can't handle, we will send them to this Middleburg Humane Foundation. And then we also work with organizations that do special needs health-wise. So we're in talks with the City Dogs and Cats, with the Chris Griffey Memorial Fund. They are special ones that take kittens that, we don't have the resources to save. When we're doing 1,547, we can't save those kittens. But we have resources in our area that we can say, can you take this kitten that's going to need a lot of special work? Not only is it going to need special work, it's going to give us the information we need to learn from it. So it's a community where a kitten can come into Arlington. If it goes to City Dogs, it's a bottle baby. They call us, we can take it. If we get a feral cat that's just not doing well, we can't get it taken, we're not giving it the right space, we're going to send it out to the working program in Middleburg, who we take their bottle babies. So what I'd like to do as we go forward is really build that program and make it a model program for safe animals in a community. One thing about the Kitten College and that program that we talked about with freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, that really came out of a need to get more fosters. So the best part of doing it was, okay, when I was doing this, I was a bottle baby foster. And I know bottle babies. I respond well to bottle babies. I can see a bottle baby and know what's wrong with it and know what needs to be done. Older kittens are not my cup of tea. But I would have a bottle baby, and then I would have to hold on to it till it was 8 weeks until I could get the next bottle baby. And that wasn't a good use of my resources. And also, the shelter was then having to euthanize kittens that had somebody that could take care of them. So we set it up so that people could say, okay, yeah, well, you can foster just while they are on the bottle, and then we'll send them out. What we didn't realize when we started this is the impact on socialization it was going to have for these kittens. These kittens go from 1 to 2 to 3 fosters in their time with us, and they are considered bomb-proof. One of the rescues that we transport kittens up to one time called them bomb-proof kittens because they drove in a van for 12 hours through New York City up to Springfield, Massachusetts, and all of them went through quarantine in 24 hours because that stress of being transported and all that was new and scary to them didn't set off their immune system. They had done that before. They had been in transports before. They'd gone from house to house. They'd already adapted to many different changes. So that was one thing that we didn't realize how good that was going to do to make our kittens. People call our kittens at our shelter dog-like kittens, which is nice because we are an urban area, and if people can't have dogs, they might like a dog-like kitten. So they can come to our shelter because they're very outgoing like dogs. But then we heard from the North Shore Animal League of America, and they were looking for kittens to do the Kitten Bowl on the Hallmark Channel. So that's something where they did the Kitten Bowl and they did the Puppy Bowl, and we were really excited when they reached out to us, and they're like, well, we heard your cats do really well. So they could take 40 of our kittens and put them in a sound stage in New York City, and they would be fine. They would be able to play. And so for several years, they used our kittens for the Kitten Bowl based on that ability to socialize kittens really well. They stopped doing that. So for us, we were a little relieved because it was a lot of work, but our fosters loved it and it was great for them. We would always have a big watch party. But I think it really speaks to how important it is. And early on in my fostering career, 20 plus years ago, people did not want anybody around kittens. They put them in these little bubbles and they made sure that they were not exposed to anything just because their little systems are so fragile. But what we do know is these animals are not as fragile as we think. They are very, very resilient. And our program has really given us a lot of information on the best way to socialize these animals to make them really adoptable cats. Fosters supporting other fosters. Our fosters do great, not only on that Facebook page, but outside of the shelter. They do a bunch of Kitten College events, and we try to support that and give them whatever they need or host it through the shelter. We also have what we call the conveyor belt for kittens, because I'm sure you have fosters that do bottle babies and do them wonderfully, but have no interest in giving them up because they're like, well, I'm in love with this kitten. I can't. So of course we had that happen as well with ours. And for our program, we basically just said, let the fosters do what the fosters want to do. We want their experience to be part of theirs. So we were like, okay, we'll let you do what you want to do, but let's focus on why it's important. And the health impacts and the social impacts are really, I think, what changed them. Most of our fosters now do send their kittens through the process, but they're more comfortable doing it if that you can say, okay, yeah, I have these bottle babies and I really want them to stay with me, but I know if they go to Kathy, I will know that I'll know how they're doing because Kathy and I are friends and we're in communication and I really trust her. So we have fosters that are like, you do the freshman, I do the junior, so it really has worked well, and we support whatever makes it comfortable for them. That sort of came out of it. Okay, so we have a situation now where we are Arlington, Virginia, a relatively small community outside of DC. We had 92 kittens, and all of a sudden we're up to 1,000. What do? We're going to saturate the community with kittens, and then we're going to be saving kittens just to have them sit in the shelter. And that's certainly not something that we wanted to do. So we went to one of the national conferences, and may have even been best friends, 4 years ago, and met with a shelter up in Dakin Animal Dakin Humane Society in Springfield, Massachusetts, and they were like, well, we'll take some of your kittens because they have such a low season that they can't, kittens just go super quickly. And so we're like, okay, well, let's try it. So that's when we did our first transport up of 40 kittens. And they were like, these kittens are amazing. We've never had kittens from anywhere, even local transports that don't break in 24 hours. Every single one of your kittens made it through quarantine in 24 hours. What are you doing? So they were the ones that help us get to the point where we're like, I think it's the socialization that's making them resilient. I think that's building their immune system. I think they're getting to be stronger kittens younger because of it. So then they asked if they could keep pulling from us and if we would go up and teach. So they were really integral in, first of all, us thinking that we have something people may want to know about, like, is this a unique thing? But we went up there and we taught, and again, the kittens didn't break with anything. So then they started paying us $100 a kitten for an unvetted kitten. So we're making $4,000 on kitten season every time we send kittens up. It's unheard of. But it was amazing because, they would take them. They didn't have to spend the time with the kittens in quarantine or the health issues attached with them. And they adopt out. I think they adopt out. So they have some crazy high number that their price of adoption because they can get it. So they were able to pay us for our kittens, and it worked out really well. We have not done that in probably 2 or 3 years because what we found is our kittens just don't sit. We don't have a situations where kittens sit. They get adopted very, very quickly. If we got to a point where we had so many that they were sitting, we would definitely revisit the idea of transferring them up north. But we're also able to, during the summer, during the winter, we have this incredibly large foster pool. So we want to make sure that we keep them engaged and keep them wanting to foster with us. So during the slower months, we will go down to Florida, North and South Carolina, and Georgia and pull kittens up just to keep them in the hands. It's a great way to learn what's going on outside of our community walls, help them, and then bring the kittens up. We're not ever really able to do that during the summer. I think right now we have over 300 in our foster program. So like everyone else, we're pretty swamped right now. But definitely in the winter months, we have got to think of those fosters and keeping them engaged. And if there are kittens that need to be saved, we'll figure out a way to go get them. After our first 2 years where our numbers just kept going up and going up, we sat down and we're like, well, this is great, but we are going to be pulling and pulling and pulling. We got to turn out the faucet. We've got to figure out why these areas that we're pulling from have so many kittens and continue to have so many kittens. So we decided we would target the 5 main areas that we pulled kittens from our first 2 years and talk to them and see if they would be interested in working with us, setting up a program, and we called it the Kitten College Satellite Campus, setting up a program and seeing, what we could do to help them. Obviously, their demographics are going to be totally different. But we were on site to be able to do training. We were able to go into the facility. We were able to help them with their social media, do everything that we did. And so we did go to those 5, and these were our first 5 satellite campuses in our area. And it has been a huge success. We did this winter 2019. Obviously, 2020 was a different year for all of us. So they didn't get the kickstart we thought that they would get. But I mentioned earlier, Middleburg Humane Foundation, we had basically taken all their kittens. They now have a very active foster program through their Kitten College, and they're able to do up to 405 or 500 a year from nothing. So that's amazing. Last year, they started taking transfers in. So their program has completely changed. Prince George's County at the time, when we first started, TNR was outlawed in their area. Since then, they have been able to get an initiative passed that allows for TNR. The groups are coming in. We heard from their numbers, last year was the first year that they had not euthanized a kitten for space. So it's been, you were able to really see a big difference in helping with them. And it's not like we're coming in and just helping these people. They help us so much. We learn from them. We are creating a very collaborative community where what we learn, we disseminate to everybody. Virginia, Newport News is, they have one in No More Chasing Tails. They're a spay-neuter clinic. So theirs is a little bit different. Like we talk about all the different demographics and how we work with them, we all sit down as a group and figure out what obstacles they have and how we can all work on it together. Anne Arundel County is associated with the police department, the sheriff's department. So if anybody wants to foster them, they have to go through background checks as if they were going to be pulling people over. So they have a really hard time getting foster. So we worked with them. The commitment we gave to these groups is, as long as you're working to help kittens in your community, you will have priority. We will always pull from you. And that is a huge incentive for a shelter or rescue. To know that you will get kittens in that will have a safe place to go really incentivize them to do a lot of work in their own shelters. And it's just been a great program. Then a year, 18 months ago, we kicked off our traveling foster program. That's where we go to shelters all across the country. Oregon was one of our very first one. Australia is here today. That was one of our first that we did. And since then, we have all these people that have become kitten colleges. Kitten College can be whatever you want it to be. We don't own it. We are not telling people that, oh, if you want to be a kitten college, you have to follow all these rules. If you have a program that would do well by having everything outlined that we've done, and we'll just share it with you, you can be a kitten college. We want to be as transparent as possible. We want to make sure that, people aren't recreating the wheel to save kittens. So these are just some of the few that have gotten logos from us. We can make a logo for you if you want it. It is a great way to market. It's basically a shtick. It gets the people in the community get interested in what it is. You can do a lot of fun fundraising with it. Right now we're working on t-shirt ideas, so if you have any, let me know. I'm thinking that we do like I'm a new Mew sorority, or bottle babies drinking the bottle chugging contest. There's just so much that we can do to get people engaged, just using it as a shtick of an idea, So that's basically all that is. Also, the power of events. We were doing the first, when we were doing the first manual, a lot of the people at these major organizations said the kitten nursery is our ATM. No matter what goes wrong in our organization, if we need to get a financial infusion quickly, we share information from the kitten nursery. So you have a great resource in what you're saving. We did Drag Queen Tiny Kitten Bingo when we first started. It was our biggest event. It was amazing. It was right before COVID. We haven't done it since, but people lined up around the block to get into that. It's nothing but, we had kittens in a kennel, like in their cages. Nobody touched them. They walked into the Drag Queen Bingo and saw the kittens, and then they went home. But it was an Instagram event, so people really wanted to do it. We do kitten yoga in our shelter. We have kitten naming games. We also do a lot in the community. We bring our kittens out to like the 911 call center, high stress areas, the area food bank. We do it to, the homebound, just to let people know what we're doing and that we have this program in our community that's been so successful and so fun, and let people see the kittens that they're saving. So we do that. We also have 2 apprentice programs. So we have an in-house Kitten College apprentice program. These are all free. So basically everything that we do is going to be free for those who want. The one in DC, you fly out. We have a hotel right next to the shelter that gives us a great rate. And then we spend the full day. We talk about how to build the existing resources. We talk about the intake. We meet with our shelter vet who goes over, what does it look like when you go from a tiny amount of kittens to a large volume? What are we seeing more of? You can ask questions about the protocols she uses and the outcomes that we have. We also have our AWA fundraising team and development director that come and speak, and they talk a lot about how we can raise money on it, what things have worked for us in the past and what haven't. That's a great presentation. Our CEO talks about the impact of, we're saving all these kittens. This is the cost benefit analysis. This is what the adoptions bring in. This is what, the cost of doing them brings in, and basically what the program has brought to the shelter in general. And then we also have Ellen Carrozza, who's the cat LVT. She lives in our back door. So Ellen will often sometimes come and talk about critical care kittens and how to get past the basic issues that you have and what to do with them. So it's a great full day. We also usually have if our animal control team is there, we'll have them come talk about TNR and how to triage neonates in the field. And so we do a little bit of everything, and people just, when you fill out, you can go to the AWLA website, and we have the travel apprenticeship and the in-house apprenticeship. Fill out the application and just say what your needs are, and we will get that information to you. We also have the travel one. So the Travel Apprentice Program is something that we do where we go across the country, and if a shelter or rescue is really trying to build a program and you need some help, call us, we will come out to you. We will spend a day going over whatever your needs are. We'll train your fosters, we'll talk to your staff. We have probably done it now to about 40 organizations, and we just started a year ago. So we've got a lot of folks that want to do it. If there's a high functioning shelter and they can afford to pay the travel fees, it just pays for the travel fees. If you cannot afford it, we are working with organizations to make it free for everyone. So that's one of the things that we do. Our next steps. So I showed you the manual. The manual that we first did is now incredibly outdated because it was 2016 that we did it, published it in 2017. We're now working on a manual to do it for our program. So people can read about it, take the information, have access for reference. We're working on it. We worked with the UC Davis School and Madison, University of Wisconsin in Madison, to update the guidelines for 0 to 8 week old kittens. So that's been very important because there's been a lot of changes in how to care for neonates as we've grown and as people start really paying more attention to them. So we sat down with them for 3 months at the beginning of the year, and we updated all those guidelines. You should go to UC Davis or to the University of Wisconsin and download those guidelines. They are, one of the main things we talk about is you don't need to feed a kitten every 2 hours. That, it's very hard on their systems to wake up a kitten when they're sleeping and then put food in its mouth. So it's a lot of things that actually make our jobs a lot easier as we move forward. We are going to continue to do share our resources with everybody. If anybody wants to join, we do have a Facebook group. I think it's on. Well, okay, so we have we do trainings. We do weekly trainings, sometimes bi-weekly. What we're really trying to do is help foster coordinators that want to bring fosters on board, especially during kitten season. Train them. We have a very popular. We have a very popular trainings called Taking the Fear Out of Bottle Feeding and Basic Kitten Care. So we do that several times, especially during kitten season. We try and do it once a week or once every other week. But it basically is a training. We don't record it because if we have a lot of foster organizations that use it to train their fosters, and once they have seen the presentation, they're able to foster and get kittens. We want to make sure they have the ability to ask any questions, because we don't want to give kittens to people that don't have all their questions answered. So we're working on that. We're a little short-staffed, so we haven't been able to do it in the last 2 weeks, but we will get another one of those up. These are other ones that we do. If people last year we did some on socialization and integration. We do list these all over the internet. We do them on a lot of the main pages. And then we also have a Kitten College community page. I think that's on the next ring. Well, it's on one of these. We have a Kitten College community page on Facebook. Please consider joining that if you're a shelter or rescue. We put all of the information that we get. People share their information. We update our presentations from that, but that gives us the ability to really work together. If you're like, we are seeing a lot of ringworm, what are people doing? Then we'll get everybody's information together and we will do a Zoom where we can all talk about it together. Financial resources. So that's one of the things that really keeps people from, starting a program. It can be very expensive. There are lots of resources, and we at the Kitten College are working on trying to get discounts and resources and everything put together in a package so that you can get as many freebies or cost-cutting measures as possible. One that we have talked about since we first started the Kitten Coalition is Royal Canin. Royal Canin and Baby Cat. I don't work for Royal Canin. I am obsessed with Royal Canin because of Baby Cat. And anybody who does kittens knows that Baby Cat is the only show on the market. And so when we're dealing with kittens that get diarrhea from other food, it's an investment that we at our shelter take, and we recommend everybody take, is a quality food early on. Diarrhea can kill a kitten. And so if we give them a good, strong food, I reached out to the folks at Royal Canin. They have been super supportive about getting food to us and getting food to other shelters. They also told me about this myroyalcanin.com. If you have a 501c3, you're able to use your 501c3 to get, I think on the baby cat, it's 25% or maybe even more off of your cost for your food. And you also get much larger bags. I mean, to go to PetSmart and pay for or for baby cat, it is crazy expensive. So if this is something you guys do, I recommend going through this. I'm sure there's a rep in your area that can talk to you, but Royal Canin has really saved our vet bills for sure at our shelter. Another interesting thing is erythromycin. So if you do TNR of any kind, you'll see kittens out in the field, horrible eyes, because that's where bacteria can first get into these little guys, and then it gets stopped. And if they're not with a mom, their eyes are going to get really bad. What a lot of people don't know is if you have a hospital that delivers babies, they throw away those little tubes of erythromycin. Talk to a labor and delivery nurse, put a bag in every labor and delivery room, and you can get these free erythromycin bags. We go through them like crazy. It is a great way to get a free product and work with your local hospital as well. Do you guys have any questions? That we have just a few more minutes left. I was hoping we'd have more. Okay, the Facebook page is called Kitten College Community. So basically, it's just a group of folks that, and it'll answer questions like if you're arrested. We try not to get like fosters or people that just like cute kitten pictures on it, because we want to make sure it's a safe place for people. We have vets on it. We have transporters. We have a little bit of everything, but it's called Kitten College Community. We also will put on there a link to our newsletter. Our newsletter will go out and tell you like what sections are coming, but you can also always post on there and say, hey, we have questions about this. We'll reach out to you directly too. I also have cards up here with my email if anybody needs any information. You can reach me through the app. Do we have any other questions? Well, we have 2 minutes to spare. Oh, yeah? Yeah, that is key. Yeah. 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 Oh yeah, no, and the thing is that the kittens are going to recover much faster in a foster environment than they will at the shelter. We just talk a lot about, we ask for specialized fosters. We have a couple that are ringworm specialized fosters, and we just talk about once you do it and nobody gets it, they get more comfortable with it. We ask them to share their story. We talk about, you could get it at the gym. It's athlete's foot, really just downplaying what it is. It's not, and the importance of covering it, because it can be a life-threatening situation in some places, and we really want to eliminate that because it's just a fungus. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it just takes time. But once people start doing it, it should, and their experiences, make sure they share their experiences. Like, no, because I've done it for years. My cat and dog have never gotten it. I've never gotten it. So, yeah, and then you just exactly. And sunlight kills it. Like most people are like, I'll dip and then put them in the direct sunlight, and that's a great way to treat it. If something like the sun can kill it, then, yeah.
I was just going to answer that question too. So I recently fostered some scabies kittens, and what I did was I documented the journey, through video, and then created a video about it saying like, I have 3 of my own adult cats in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I still was able to foster kittens with contagious diseases, and look how easy it is. They were in my tub. They cleared it. They found it. So I just made that little video about it. And then, I make videos for best friends.
Would you
and then
consider
I
would you
shared it.
consider putting that on the Kitten College page?
Oh yeah,
So
totally. That's what I was gonna say. Is
that would be wonderful. Yeah, we put everything and like share everything, and then
Yeah.
because that would be so helpful, and
that's
then
the
no one
whole
else has
point.
to make that. Yeah,
Right, like if I can do this with
Yeah.
these 3 nosy cats in a 1 bedroom and contagious kittens, anyone can do it.
That's
They're in the tub,
amazing.
and so it's just like a kind of it's just a short like 40-second video or something, but
perfect.
it's great. So I was gonna say to find people that have done it and get them to video it, because that's
Yeah.
really, you could see yourself doing it.
Yeah, that's perfect. And those are the sort of things that there's no reason to recreate the wheel. If it's done, don't take the time out of your day. Thank you. Time's up. Thank you so much for coming.